of the 4 semifinalists have been determined, and now it's time to find the 2 who will round out our final 4. My name's Cora, and joining me for this set are going to be Noxious and Falcone. Congratulations, of course, go to Hotmeowth and Tallion for being the first 2 semifinalists in DreamHack Montreal Hearthstone Grand Prix 2017. But now, this is the quarterfinal that I have been looking for. It's going to be the man, the myth, the Muzz, taking on Tallion, who also has an HCT history. He played in the HCT America's Winter Championship in 2016. So both of these guys have experience on the big stage, and I don't think they have experience playing against each other. So this should be interesting. Yeah,
Tallion's one of the bigger names of the local scene, at least in Canada. You know, I've seen him do very, very well in many tournaments. Some of the smaller scale ones, you know, in maybe not the size of DreamHack. He's always done deep runs on the HCT circuit as well. Whenever he's tried, the latter results are astonishing, really. So when you're looking at his tournament performance, it's not a name that people might remember, because I think a year or 2 ago, he was a lot more active than he's been. He still plays, but I believe he grinds a lot less of the open cups, let's say, and that would explain it.
Yeah, that would make sense. And then Falcone, we had the storyline of Muzzy versus Zalay throughout this entire tournament. Zalay did lose in the top 16, so Muzzy has officially taken the lead in HCT points even further than he already had going to the World Championship direct qualification. So Muzzy is a fantastic storyline. You think he's going to take this one, Falcone?
Well, let's look at it this way. Every win he gets from this point in this tournament is one step even closer to World Championships, ahead of Zalay, who's already been kicked out. So these wins are still counting. Every win further he gets is one step ahead. It means that DreamHack Denver won't matter as much for him in terms of World Championship.
Well, I did hear rumors that Muzzy was coming to this tournament initially, and then Zalay heard that Muzzy was coming, and he's like, oh, shoot, I should be going too.
Wow.
So it really is incredible how these two motivate each other so much to compete and to succeed. And they both, of course, made top 16, which is an incredible feat. Zalay was the first slot into the top 16. Muzzy was a little bit rougher along the way, had more losses than Zalay in the 9 rounds of Swiss, but he has ended up making it further in the single elimination top brackets. Let's go ahead and take a look at our picks and bans for this quarterfinal. Muzzy versus Tallion. All right, so it is going to be Druid bans, and then Tallion left with Warrior, Priest, Shaman, Muzzy with Shaman, Priest, Paladin. We've seen Muzzy on stream. I don't believe we've seen Tallion yet this weekend.
No, we haven't seen him play just yet, but the lineup that he's brought is something you'd expect at this point. Pirate Warrior, the Razakis Priest, I believe, as well as the Token Shaman. And on Muzzy's side, we've already seen his Razakis Priest with a Mind Blast tech to go alongside Villain, the Murloc Paladin, as well as the Token Shaman. So a lot of the same stuff on both sides. The big difference, of course, it seems in many lineups, is the Paladin and Warrior. We oftentimes bring, you know, 2 classes that tend to be among the Shaman and Warrior Paladin.
Yeah, it's funny how Shaman has sort of made its way back in during this tournament. It has been up there with the Paladin and the Warrior. I know that some people were quite confused about Shaman, really, and whether it still had a place with the new Death Knight hero. But yeah, it seems to have made its way in with the other big-ish boys. The biggest boys, of course, are Priest and Druid.
Yeah, Shaman hasn't changed really at all since Knights of the Frozen Throne came out, other than Thrall, Deathseer. But we'll have to see if Muzzy can pull off maybe another fantastic 3-0 sweep with his Shaman deck. What's it going to be, Falcone, Muzzy or Tallion?
It's going to be Muzzy. He's got too much to gain from this tournament, even looking forward into the future. And I really, really like his deck lists.
Noxious, I know you're a local guy.
I have to root for Tallion, but I think it's anyone's game, in truth, just because of the way the lineups are built. There's potential for sweeps on both sides, and I have no doubt that they're going to pilot their decks excellently either way. So I'm going to root for Tallion.
All right, I'm going to have to give my bet to Muzzy, but this is going to be a great quarterfinal regardless. So don't go anywhere, guys. Muzzy versus Tallion coming up right now.
All right, the third semifinals are on the way. It's Muzzy versus Tallion that's coming right up. So again, lineups are very standard, nothing too out of the ordinary there. I'm not very surprised to see that Pirate Warrior has made its way this deep in the tournament once again. Murloc Paladin as well, doing excellently. I think this is the first time we have a lineup that's, you know, this deep that has 2 Shamans, one on either side.
Yeah, It's true, and this is what I was saying before. It's like Shaman has been one of these, maybe sleeper. I don't know. It's not been one of the most popular, one of the decks that people have been talking about as one of the most powerful, but it's clear that there is something in it. We've seen a lot of Shaman today already. We're going to see a lot in this series. And again, I really love Muzzy's Priest. The Mind Blast, the Gnomish Inventor. It's like he's taking a risk, but again, it's this very specific strategy which so far has paid off.
I mean, if you're going to be running that much draw, I think it just makes sense to kind of go the extra mile and say this draw is going to win me the game instead of just dragging it on a little bit longer. So he's just trying to blow up his opponent in one fell swoop, and we've seen it work admirably. Now, I think the Shaman might be a bit of a weird deck for either of them. That being said, let's see what they've led with in this first game of the match. I want to know whether or not... Oh, well, there we go. I was going to say, I think the Shaman is what has to get the win. That is the deck on their side that is probably going to be... is going to need to find a win.
Winning a mirror in any tournament format does give you a huge advantage moving forwards, because it just means that you then don't have to play the matchup later on the other way around.
Sure.
It's a huge advantage.
So we had a bit of a technical issue with loading up the game on Tallion's side. I just saw him raise his hand and say, hey, admin, I could use some help here. So the Shaman matchup is going to be coming up. The mulligans are going to be redone, so nothing goes awry. Again, you know, the Shaman deck is weak against the Priest. We've talked about that. Yep. It can beat Paladin, however, and that's a really big deal because on Tallion's side, that's an extra matchup where you're going to do rather well. The Pirate Warrior is also very manageable. So
what happens in theory is that the Shaman that wins then ends up having to face off against the Priest. You then end up with maybe a Priest mirror match afterwards.
Right. It seems to kind of follow in this last hero standing format that you just counter queue each other, and thus the first player to win has a massive edge in the matchup.
Yeah. Though it has to be said, in last hero standing, winning the first game is always an advantage.
Right, and it's more so than Conquest, because in Conquest you have to win with every single deck. In this case here, it's all about not getting your decks eliminated. So if you can just get that first one on the board and you get counter-queued, you still get the last word.
Exactly, counter-queuing isn't something that you can do in Conquest because you never really know exactly what your opponent's going to play, unless they only have one deck remaining, of course, in which case you have to win with all of your classes anyway, so the counter-queuing part doesn't even matter.
Right, the Conquest is a lot more about lineup building, where you say, all right, I expect my opponents to be playing, you know, 3 aggro decks, and so I'll be playing 3 decks that beat aggro, such that I can isolate effectively everything. We've seen a little bit more focused efforts in the past where they isolate 1 deck out of the 3, and they say this deck is never getting a win on the board, and so they build 3 decks to counter that single one. Yeah. In last hero standing, that's not really doable, so what you end up having to do is try to build, I want to say, a well-rounded lineup that has a good chance across the board, but is also amazing at counter queuing.
All right, well, we are going to restart the game right now. Not right now, very soon. There is a rat stuck in a lift. One more time. Tallion put his hand up and said, guys, I think we have a problem again.
Have you seen the... Have you talked to the rat about
I haven't, no.
No? Okay.
Have you?
No, I've not. I was disappointed. You know, I saw him beat Zalay yesterday. He seemed really bummed out earlier with the match that went on. The rat went... His run in the Swiss round went very, very slowly. It was a slow grind to getting back in. He made the top 16, and then he's like, you know what, I can totally do this. And then, sadly, in top 8, ends up falling short.
Well, and it feels bad the way that it happened as well, because Hot Meowth played a Devolve. It gave the rat a Doomsayer, which cleared his own board, and that always feels bad to lose to. But we are going to try one more time. Let's start with game number 1 of this series, Tallion versus Muzzy.
Is the Shaman mirror match. Now, their lists, I assume, are going to be extremely similar, as you tend to see Shamans not go too far out of the beaten path. It tends to be the case that there's a very standard list going around right now. Sometimes you see a Saturday Chain Gang here and there, which actually we do see in Tallion's deck. Tallion is running a Saturday Chain Gang.
Yeah, it's a one-of. And it's a one-of in a lot of lists at the moment. It's sort of like mini doppelgangster, isn't it? You've got the extra evolve in the form of Thrall Deathseer, so you can afford to run 1 more of these cards, which does the same thing. Saturday Chain Gang does do it on turn 4, and then Thrall comes down on turn 5, which is the really relevant part of that little combo. Right,
it feels like that last slot in Shaman is always left for your tech, so oftentimes you try to tech against Pirate Warrior with that last slot, which is interesting because you end up putting either Golakka Crawler or Saturday Chain Gang. Golakka Crawler more swingy on its own, but also less likely to get you the upswing you want out of Thrall Deathseer.
Yeah. Now, one of these opening hands is not like the other. One of them has the Firefly, one of the best one-drops in the game, at least in this deck. The other has Patches the Pirate.
Yeah, Tallion opting, of course, not to play Patches early. The 1 damage may be nice, but if you're simply going to run it into death, whether we're talking about a Jade Claws or a Firefly or an opponent's Pirate that then ends up trading into your Patches, you're going to be behind on board anyway, so you might as well wait until you can extract some value out of the Patches before you end up playing it. And Muzzy, with a typical 1 into coin 1 opener.
Patches is still okay in the opening hand of the Shaman. You wouldn't choose to have it, but you can play it with Flame Tongue Totem. Bloodlust later, it's 4 damage. That is a good card, though, that Tallion's just picked up there. The Primal Fin Totem makes a big difference getting it early in this deck because it allows you to just continuously go wide and actually spreads out your minions thin in a way where your opponent has to decide what they want to clear. Muzzy can put his resources into clearing up the totem, and the 1/1 survives. It's very difficult to have enough attack to deal 4 damage at this stage in the game.
Yeah, which is exactly what Muzzy has, actually. Like when you go for turn 1 into coin the Firefly, if you hold it into your hand, sure, you don't have it. But then if you're looking at having Jade Claws or Maelstrom Portal, they both deal with the Primal Fin Totem. Not only that, but they also spawn an extra minion, which puts Muzzy that much ahead. So I think at this point, Tallion is going to be looking for that spell damage totem into Maelstrom Portal swing turn.
Yes.
It's one of those things that can happen. We might see him just play the Maelstrom Portal early with the Patches now, just to get the full board cleared and get a reset. He does, after all, have the double Doppelgangster on his side.
Yeah, it's interesting because Tallion has a lot of the late game resources of this deck now, and he has to decide how he wants to use his limited early game stuff. Like, can he afford to drop Patches and Maelstrom and clear the board now?
Oh.
It looks like he's going to have to. He feels like he doesn't have a choice.
Is it Stone Toss Boar? It's Possessed Villager!
That's not bad. That's not bad at all.
That's a great one because it survives the Jade Claws attack, which is oftentimes what you end up running into. It's no injured Kvaldir, but I'll take it.
There is no longer an injured Kvaldir, so...
oh, true.
There's only so high you can roll with Maelstrom.
What's your best one-drop right now?
It might even be Emerald Hive Queen, and that has a downside. Flame Imp? Flame Imp, maybe?
Flame Imp's up there, yeah. But in terms of surviving the Jade Claws, you're right, Emerald Hive Queen would be slightly better. It seems like Patches will come out trying to preserve every bit of value he can extract out of this little Possessed Villager, including a weapon swing and whatever is left over. So this is actually not a bad spot for Muzzy, but you can see that despite the Patches in the opening hand, they're still both very much on equal footing because of the overload weaving itself. Without Maelstrom Portal, Tallion would be looking at a very dreadful spot, but fortunately didn't have to worry about it.
Yep, and speaking of not worrying, Tallion picks up Flame Tongue Totem, which means he does have something to do this turn. He can just play his totem, play Flame Tongue Totem, and make the trade with the Possessed Villager. It could be considered a waste to drop Flame Tongue Totem when you're not getting a significant amount of value from it. But yeah, again, like with the Maelstrom Patches, he doesn't have a choice here. He has to put something down. So
yeah, and the upside is if Muzzy wants to deal with this, there aren't too many options. One of the clear ones here is, well, you play Maelstrom Portal, you pop everything, you kill the Flame Tongue Totem. But if you do that, then you also don't have any more AoE left over for Tallion's ability to play, you know, when he plays the Doppelgangster, if you're supposed to use that with pings. So there's always a trade-off in the matchup that comes down to who gets the last white board, evolves it, and keeps it.
Right.
And it never goes away.
Manatide Totem, also one of these minions that if Muzzy can keep alive, just generates more and more value. All of the totems actually seem to do that. Even Flame Tongue Totem generates more and more value from the other things that you have on the board already. But this 0-3 isn't going anywhere. And that is a huge problem for Tallion at the moment as he draws his own one. But Muzzy does have the ability to deal with that one.
Well, there's the question of whether or not playing Thrall Deathseer is worth it this early, because you can still go for your own totem and Manatide, so you go Hero Power, Manatide, get your card draw, recover that, or maybe you just take a chance and try to stick one Doppelgangster to become a 6-drop.
I think that's the play. You've got 2 in the hand. You get so heavily rewarded by Thrall next turn if even 2 of these things stick. I think you just have to. You can clear away Patches, maybe put 1 damage into the Manatide totem. Muzzy's punish is, of course, spell damage Maelstrom Portal if he gets the spell damage totem, but this could be rewarded.
They're both holding on to 1 Doppelgangster and Thrallmar Farseer. That's the That's the point of the game that we're at right now, is that they're both sort of sitting on the same resources to end the game. And the first one to get it oftentimes ends up having the advantage as he gets to dictate the trades into the opponent's minions as they come up.
Thanks to the Jade Claws, Muzzy can now deal with 2 of these. He can hit the Pirate into one of them, hit Jade Claws into another, and play Maelstrom Portal. Leaving 1 alive is still good for Tallion. It means he can play Thrall and he gets his random 7 drop on turn 6.
The funny part is, if you just play your own doppelgangsters, then he can't afford trading his away.
At the same time...
And then you just play your own 7 drops afterwards.
Yeah, at the same time, Tallion does end up being a turn ahead on the 7
Exactly.
He gets the first attack in 2 turns' time. And
right.
It's really complex. It's really messy, but I'm pretty certain the play is Jade Claws Maelstrom.
That's the obvious one. I think that's the one that springs to mind as being the... Oh, goodness!
Oh, he can't utilize it this turn, though. That's so close to being incredible, but there's no way of pinging your own 1-1.
Well, if it was a pirate, it'd be great.
If it was a pirate, that would be insane.
It up. To be fair, though, Tallion now losing 2 doppelgangsters mean he's actually losing quite a bit of resources because those represented potential 7 drops with Thrallmar Farseer, which are no longer available. And yeah, it feels a little bit worse in this case.
Thrall is still very strong this turn, though. I'm pretty sure, you know, you clear the Manatide Totem, you hit face, and then just create a 7 and a 3 drop. That's reasonable.
Yeah, the crazy part, too, about this board state is that Muzzy has the devolves, which is nice, but it's not as nice if you're devolving into a random 5-drop, because those tend to be much better than 2-2s.
Yeah. Random 4-drops also tend to be better than 2-2s, which is why Muzzy couldn't just evolve away the Doppelgangster before. The other thing, that if Tallion does evolve this Doppelgangster into a random 7-drop, and Muzzy can't quite deal with random 7-drop, random 7-drop becomes random 8-drop next turn. The following turn, it becomes random 9-drop. Each time at full health.
Yeah, the 2-2 and the 1-1 of the weapon, though, also do a lot of work, so I'm not sure if there's really, like, if you really get any value from getting a single 7-drop from Farseer.
Okay, for a second, I was very surprised there, but Tallion's being greedy here. He's playing a greedy game. He wants to get 3 random 7-drops, not 1. And that Flame Tongue Totem off the top is going to punish Tallion for that Doppelgangster.
He'll be left with a single... Well, I mean, do you really... going back to my argument earlier, do you really worry? Because you can't... Yeah, this is exactly what's happening. You can't afford trading your Doppelgangsters away. So you know if they're getting an evolve, you're getting 1 extra one in this case.
You're getting an extra one, but you're getting it a turn slower. And things like Bloodlust do come into play. You don't want to evolve your minions if you just die the turn after. I think Muzzy's safe because there are only 2 random 7-drops should be safe enough. Funny thing here is Tallion has to decide whether he wants to Hero Power first or Hero Power after, turn 1 random 7-drop into random 8-drop. Now, 8-mana minions, on average, tend to be pretty good.
You know what would be insane? Like just a Baron Geddon. If you just you nail a Baron Geddon here.
Oh my god.
You just do it.
That's a scary thought.
That could be insane. He doesn't find it.
That's not a good evolve, actually. The taunt is good. But Benedictus and Ancient of Law are both poorly statted 7-drops. Second Doppelgangster for Muzzy.
No evolve in hand, because that could have been a disgusting swing turn.
It would have been... Yeah.
And there's no other way to put it. Luckily for him, though, I mean, the 2-4 is currently holding at bay the attack before the evolve, which tends to be what you see.
Now, Thrall is super obvious here, but what does Flame Tongue Totem do? If you stick it in between, one of these Doppelgangsters deals with the 2-4, 2 of them deal with the 4-6, then Ancient of Law is sitting there laughing at you evolving, so I don't think that's good enough.
Well, maybe you could just play the other Doppelgangster at that point, but...
Yeah.
That would be the argument. Same thing as Tallion. Trade, get a second wave of Doppelgangsters, set up a better Thrall afterwards.
This game is absurd. Usually you end up with Shamans running out of steam against each other and sort of having to just keep top decking and try and gather more resources than their opponent. But in this game, both players have got all of their late game stuff early, and now we're seeing some hilarious things happening.
Okay, it looks like he's still gonna opt for Thrall Deathseer. I need to stop. Why did you make Thrallmar Farseer sound so much like Deathseer, Blizzard? And it looks like, what is that, 6-7? Summon a random beast, Abominable Bowman.
Very good.
That took me a while.
Or is it add a random beast to your hand? Or is it? Oh, yeah, you're right. It's
If it died, you get it back.
It's a beast that died this game. Okay,
Yes.
we got there. Galactic Crawler could still die. One of these minions could be evolved into a beast that can die. It's possible to make something good happen there.
Sure. But these minions are much better than what Tallion got. 6'6", 6'6", and 6'7". Extremely high health, extremely high attack. These are resilient evolves. Tallion just got...
Flame Tongue makes a big difference here. So the 2 7-drops that Tallion has can value... Oh, okay.
Let's upgrade that.
Yeah.
Step 1.
All right, well, we're now bigger than Muzzy's minions, so that's something. Doesn't come with an Atiesh, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, these Jade Lightnings would have appreciated that, but...
So is it Flame Tongue Totem, trade in Benedictus and Jade Lightning and trade in the 2/4?
I do like that line of play. It does leave your Flame Tongue a little bit stranded where it doesn't have any protection, but I don't know that you can really afford making any other play. You could just trade the Tentacles and not play Flame Tongue, as again, it leaves it stranded. That's about the only explanation. Oh, goodness gracious.
We're about to see the most powerful boards that we've seen all weekend, I think.
I'm just looking for a disaster here.
3 6-drops, 2 8-drops, and then a hero power that upgrades 1 again.
He's got enough mana to avert disasters.
Yeah. I can't think that there are any disasters when it gets into the 7 and 8 category anyway. Like Baron Geddon.
Triple Baron Geddon? That ought to do it.
There's no way.
He couldn't get it because the 6s won't go up.
You have quite the imagination.
It would take 2 to 3 turns to mess him up. Yeah, there's no way. Muzzy's just... Yeah.
It's just
what does he have to worry about? Right? What does he even have to worry about?
As excited as we were getting about this huge board, Muzzy just doesn't need to play it.
Well, worst case scenario is you get double devolved and then things are bad, but...
Yeah.
Oh. That's convenient, mostly.
It's still not going to allow Tallion to keep up. He's so behind because this game of evolution, Muzzy is winning because he has the big thing on the board, which he can just trade and evolve every single turn. Aya comes out, no big deal. Kalimos goes into it, lives, evolves. It's now a full health 9-drop.
So you'd have, in this case, if you were Tallion, to play the Flame Tongue first, put Aya next to it to make sure there's no viable trade. So you play Flame Tongue to kill the Flame Tongue.
Oh, okay. Or just guarantee that the Kalimos dies this way.
Yeah. It's like, if you really want to play Aya, which is, you know, at best questionable since you mentioned he's just going to heal up the Kalimos and whatnot.
It's just too important to deal with the Kalimos because the evolution just gets out of hand. But unfortunately for Tallion, there is more evolution on Muzzy's side that is going to get out of hand any moment now. Aya is a consideration. Thing from below is good as well. It's not a straightforward turn for Muzzy. He's got lots of ways that he can win this game.
I think you start with Devolve every single time because you don't have enough damage to kill the Mana Tide. I mean, double Devolve makes all this very, very weak. There isn't much they can do with this, you know, with these 1-drops. So I wouldn't worry too much if I were Muzzy at this point. Put the value trays where they are, set up a big taunt. You're good to go.
And then if Disaster does strike, then he can play Doppelgangster Evolve again.
If Devolve comes out and you end up with a Doomsayer...
That is Disaster striking. Hot Meowth was there just a few hours ago today.
There are 2 3-drops that could lead to that. Step 1, Devolve. Step 2, hope for the best. Is there a Disaster coming up?
No, okay, all right.
Not this time. In fact, you've given him a Wind Fury minion. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
A Wind Fury minion that you can clear, but you have to trade both minions into it. That doesn't feel pretty.
Yeah, I wouldn't kill. Yeah, it's just ouch. There's no...
It is just ouch.
You could technically just take the value trades on the 2-1 and the 1-1 if you'd like to. That seems rather acceptable. You can make that 3-drop of yours into a 4-drop because you get a 3/3 Jade Golem. That gives you a little bit more board presence, but at the same time, you're still rather behind. I mean, in card count, you know that you're going to be losing the resource war unless a miracle happens.
Evolving the 3-3 into a 4-4, just Jade Golem evolution things. I gotta tell you, Noxious, based on recent traumatic experience, Aya is nowhere near as brutal in a Shaman as it is in a Druid.
It's a good card because it lets you go wide, which is probably the only reason why it's viable. Right?
But I'd rather see it summon a 3-3 and a 4-4 than a 11-11 and a 12-12. If I'm against
any day.
Yeah.
Any day. Well, that's mildly annoying. That's actually really frustrating.
It buys Tallion quite some time.
It puts a sizable chunk of your board on 1 health, which means if Maelstrom Portal is picked up, assuming you go for the 5-4 and 2-3 trade and not the 2-1, then you get the 5-4 evolved to make sure. Okay, that's a cleaner trade, I believe. I like that more.
Can actually deal with the scientist as well, by the looks of things.
Just clean up everything, so there's no catch-up mechanism, and then you just solidify your lead. Turn after turn. There is no disaster up there in this mana count. Well, not for Muzzy anyway. But for Tallion, this isn't looking good.
They have some low-statted 6-drops. Doesn't matter at all in this situation. 4-4-4-4-4-6.
Well, we could technically get a spell damage minion here. Is there a 5-drop of spell damage anymore? I don't think so. We've lost all of them with the Drake rotating out.
Yeah.
Maelstrom Portal is not very useful in this spot. All right, let's keep this train going.
Oh my goodness.
Just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it found a way.
I don't want to be Tallion right now. I wouldn't want to.
Well, I mean, he started with patches in hand, kept himself afloat for a long time, but the doppelgangster trades were always on Muzzy's side because he had Jade Claws. That gave him a huge edge. The Jade Claws from Muzzy just ended up solidifying what could have been a much more favorable matchup for Tallion because he had the doppelgangsters first, had the evolve first, had Thrall Deathseer first, so he could have just snowballed out of control without the Jade Claws available. I was thinking, do I even kill that? I mean, if I kill it, then it prevents a 6-drop with +2 spell damage from coming out with some devolve into Maelstrom Portal. A very fringe scenario. But you lose nothing from just being cautious since you're already dominating this.
I just don't see any reason not to make the trade. This game is all but over. It doesn't even matter what their health totals are at the moment. These decks, they run Bloodlusts. Big boards do matter, and big boards that just can never be removed like this one. That's how the Shaman wins this game.
Doomslayer soaks up 7 damage. That's not it.
Yeah, she only soaks up 2 damage. If that.
Yeah. A grim sight, indeed, for Muzzy here. Doesn't want. He lost 2 minions in the trade, but still maintains himself.
A Bone Man got above.
Way above. Keeps the evolve because, hey, why not? I can get better trades later and extract even more value out of this.
Come on, Muzzy. We all want to see the second evolve. Don't let us down.
Tallion, you can get a 3-drop. Do you want a 3-drop? Wow. All right. Fine.
And then the concede. Muzzy takes game number 1. It was a long time coming. Muzzy has been ahead on this board for about the last 7 or 8 turns. So just a nice, calm game for him. Tallion now on the back foot as we move forward into what will probably be his priest versus Muzzy's shaman.
Yeah, the shaman can go so wide on the board that the pirate warrior really doesn't have an easy way of answering the early aggression unless he goes for N'Zoth's first mate, picks it up exactly, sometimes combined with an upgrade to kill off the fireflies and maintain his little N'Zoth's first mate alive. So it's very difficult sometimes for the pirate warrior to fight off the wide board from shaman. So I think the priest is the more likely outcome for Tallion here.
Just taking a look at this priest deck list very quickly. And it's standard. There's nothing too exciting or different from anything else we've seen. 1 Tile Creeper, 1 Doomsayer. The regular amount of cycle, by which I mean not the crazy Muzzy cycle with Inventor, but not the reduced cycle without the card draw as well. It's just as standard Razaka's Priest as you can get.
Yeah, no Mind Blast, right? That's kind of the highlight difference. Also, that gives Muzzy in the matchup, in the mirror matchup, the edge, because if you have the Mind Blast, then you can threaten to kill your opponent's Priest a little bit faster. If it comes down to that, Muzzy could just snowball out of control with the Shaman and prevent the Priest from actually getting the win, which it is favored to do. So Muzzy, patches in the hand, a little bit of what Tallion experienced in the last game.
It happens. It happens. We've all been there far too many times. Patches, of course, has a humongous upside.
Humongous what?
Upside.
Oh.
What?
No.
Okay.
Firefly comes down, the perfect opener.
Yeah. Despite the fact that there's Patches in hand, Firefly is still gonna pull the weight for now. Patches can be used later on with, as we said before, Flame Tongues, Bloodlust, etc.
What cards are the Priest at this point looking for to really solidify a lead?
So Shadow Word Horror can be very strong against Devolve being used immediately. Okay. Sure. Makes sense. Prevent Tallion from drawing cards. Like you said, the Priest... what the Priest does nowadays is it just looks for tools, it digs through its deck with all of the cycle, getting rid of that Cleric and preventing it from drawing 1, 2, maybe even 3 cards. I like that play a lot. The Priest is looking for ways of clearing the Shaman board over and over again. Pine-Sized Potion Horror is one combo, Holy Nova is in the deck, Dragonfire Potion. They are the big cards of this matchup.
And now we see another way to clean up the board here for Muzzy. He's got the ability to just keep that Flame Elemental healed up if he's lucky enough, the Firefly that is. But unfortunately, will not be sufficient. Very vulnerable to Potion of Madness here, but will not have to run into it.
He is. That is another one of the cards that can just give the Priest a huge advantage in the early game, just preventing the aggression of the Shaman. Spirit Lash could be good in this matchup as well, but Thanos has been used up, so that's not quite as good as it would have been.
It's a little bit less potent without the spell damage. To be fair, though, he's got Kazakus in hand, and we've seen exactly how that's turned the matchup around, because when you start adding the redundancy of the potion on top of the Dragonfire Potion as well as the Holy Nova, it's like you've just never done clearing board, and the Shaman can't recover from 2 board clears in the matchup. And
Tallion's pretty much got exactly what he wanted. He instantly picked deal 4 damage to all minions from the first part of this 5-mana potion. And now he's trying to work out, do I want to board? Do I want to guarantee the board clear by dealing 5 damage as well? Or do I want to draw cards? And honestly, all 3 of these options are good. There's no armor gain here, which would be bad. There's none of the, no add random demons to your hand. He ends up going with the Summoner Demon. And that makes sense, because putting stuff on the board is a great way of preventing your opponent from putting stuff on the board.
Yeah, the alternative of dealing 5 damage, drawing 2 cards was reasonable, but dealing 5 damage tries to target specifically something like Think From Below or Doppelgangster Evolve that went very wrong for you. So when you're making a 5/5 demon, you're challenging Think From Below by default, and if there isn't a Think From Below, then you just get an extra minion that the Shaman has no way of dealing with unless they have spell damage, Jade Lightning, or Jade Claws plus Jade Lightning established, which oftentimes just gives you the lead.
Tallion 1 turn early, though he cannot play the Kazakus Potion now because he coined out Kazakus in turn 4. So he's just got to decide how much he wants to put into preventing damage this next turn. He can consider Potion of Madness to just get rid of the cheap Murlocs. He can consider the other 2 cheap spells, but ultimately he decides there's no real need. The board is getting cleared completely next turn anyway. There's only so much damage Muzzy can do this turn.
Yeah, and Muzzy on the same line of reflection is going to be noticing, well, okay, he's got Kazakus Potion, snap picked. I doubt I'm going to be keeping this board, whether we're talking about Holy Nova or Shadow Word Horror. The more I put into this, the less and less I get out of it. So maybe there's a reason to just Hero Power pass, play it cautiously, wait for the first AoE to come down, and then repopulate the board. We know that Flame Tonguing is arguably the best card. I think that you could...
It sort of counters Shadow Word Horror a little bit, but not very well on this board, because it's only actually pushed 1 minion above that 2-attack threshold.
Right, so it's mostly going to be good because it survives Holy Nova. So what Muzzy's doing here is saying, I can beat Holy Nova with this board. Well, in a way, because I get an extra, minion afterwards.
Beat what? Sorry, beat
that
Holy Nova.
Yeah, that beautiful little card here, right? The little thing, it's right there. Tallion can just say, well, whatever, man. I don't need Holy Nova. I got a 5/5 demon.
And Muzzy can come back with Aya, which is always a nice drop on turn 6 to just put yourself back on the board, but Tallion is ahead. And in order to win in this matchup, Muzzy needs to be ahead now.
Yeah, I think Aya Black was kind of the obvious play, right? Where you're just getting yourself the biggest possible swing over 2 turns that lets you make use of that Jade Lightning since you've already got some board established. There could have been an argument in favor of Jade Lightning to get a 1/1, to kill the demon with patches and then play Firefly, but that leaves you with nothing but a 1/1 and a 1/2 on the board afterwards, which is extremely weak. So you'd rather get the 5/3 on top of that and the guaranteed replenishment of the 2/2 afterwards. Seems as though Tallion's just sitting on infinite options.
Yeah.
Just driving home the fact that this matchup's just not made for the Shaman.
Look at Lyra here. Lyra into Holy Smite is just good. It deals with the biggest threat, starts generating cards, and there is a chance Muzzy doesn't have a way of dealing with Lyra and that she just single-handedly wins the game. Picking up Shadow Word Horror seems like a pretty good way to go as well.
Let's assume things were to go wrong. I mean, you are still very... Like, if you're looking at this from Tallion's side, right? Patches has been in the hand for a long time. So this could be Doppelgangster. Yeah. And it could be just waiting for the evolve. And that's the contingency plan you have to prepare. You have to prepare, because if you can't deal with Doppelgangster evolve, not Doppelgangster pass turn, give you a chance to clear it into evolve, immediately evolving it, then things could get a little bit hairy for Tallion. I have no doubt that he thinks the leftmost card is Doppelgangster.
Well, who cares at this point? Shadow Reaper Anduin will deal with Doppelgangster evolve. It will almost always at least clear 2 of the 6 drops.
Hey, no. I refuse to accept this. I want Skulking Geist.
Okay.
I just want a bunch of Skulking Geist.
3 Skulking Geist?
3
Just like you wanted 3 Baron Geddon earlier.
3 Skulking Geist.
Okay.
I mean, there's no Doppelgangster, so we're talking a little bit too much, but I would love 3 Skulking Geist.
Tallion just gonna drop Prophet Valen here. Like, okay, you had what you needed to deal with Lyra. Do you have what you need to deal with this? Tallion doesn't need the big combo blowout turn at the end of this game like he would against one of the control decks. He just wants to put big stuff on the board and make life as difficult for Muzzy as possible. Prophet Valen achieves exactly that.
It could have been a War Golem, and Tallion would have been happy to play it. It just goes to show how important this could have been. Spell Damage Totem would have helped here, cleaning up the Velen, but unfortunately not available. So he can still use the Maelstrom Portal with the patches, trade everything away.
That's so bad, though.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a choice. He doesn't have a choice because Holy Nova and Spirit Lash both clear the entire board. That Tentacle does not help Muzzy at all.
What do you mean, a 3 damage? It's basically if you've given your opponent a Blood Mage Thalnos, this is what it would look like. Now they clear the board to just get an extra spell damage. Spirit Lash now hits for 2. How about that?
And great, a nice juicy pint-sized potion to go with the Shadow Word Horror. I mean, Tallion was on the back foot for the vast majority of the last game. So, again, what goes around comes around. It's now Muzzy that's having to sit there and think, I'm probably going to lose this. I'm going to keep playing in case there's any crazy way I can come back. Seems super unlikely at the moment.
I know of one way.
Yep.
Here it is.
Okay.
Doppelgangster Evolve, triple Nerubian Unraveler. These spells are never getting played.
Yeah.
Why does it always have to be a triple? I feel like it makes things so much more enjoyable.
Oh, baby, a triple. No, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry, Noxious. I'd love to see it as well, though.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. The thing is, like, Muzzy's got time. He's not dead. He's far from dead. He's got time to draw those combo pieces. Well, combo pieces. The Evolve and the Doppelgangsters. It's just a matter of actually getting there. And that's the Spirit Lash of a lifetime.
Yeah, as we watch Tallion slowly but surely start to get through Muzzy's currently high health total, bit by bit, draining all of the life from Thrall and Muzzy.
The thing is, without the essential Doppelgangster Evolve, Muzzy already in the matchup has little chance of making it. he would have had to get an uncleared board of, you know, 1-drops into a Bloodlust. That's one of the ways you can win oftentimes, just blow them out on turn 5 exactly.
Yep.
But that's extremely complicated.
But Kazakus, and when I was listing the key cards in this matchup for the Priest, I completely missed Kazakus sitting right there in front of me, just as the card that removes all of the tempo that the Shaman has built up in the early game.
Cabal, Shadow Priest taking spell damage, because hey, why not? I could use some of that Holy Nova. Seems like Muzzy's just helping his opponent at this point. Okay.
All right, well, you can devolve the 3/3 into a Doomsayer.
We have to mention it.
It doesn't do enough. It's barely worth mentioning because it doesn't suddenly win Muzzy the game, but it's a factor.
Well, the more minions, the better the Doomsayer. So you just wait for him to commit more. You make that Doomsayer even more likely to occur.
If Doomsayer could blow up your opponent's hero power as well, then maybe it would make a difference.
We can make a tech card for that. We can make an 8-mana 4/8 called Raging Geist.
Blow up your own hero power?
No, the enemy's hero power.
That's too strong.
An 8-mana 4/8?
Yeah, that's
okay.
too strong.
All right.
No, you make it Death Rattle, blow up your own hero power, and then it synergizes with Treachery.
Oh,
and it makes,
I see how it is.
It makes Devolve and Evolve.
But you have to make it 8 mana, so you actually can't play Treachery with it.
Ah, yeah.
Ah.
It's good.
Or you can make it 10 mana. 10 mana 4/8 that does that.
Yeah.
Is that really over the top, though? Think about it.
That's really over the top.
Is it? Yeah, I guess if you can get it on turn 6 with double innervate. But that's changing.
Anyway, we're just talking through some
hypotheticals.
Hypotheticals while Tallion slowly but very surely wins this game against Muzzy. No Doomsayer present. I expect, yep, there's the bottom right, buddy. And Tallion ties up the series. It's going to be 1-1 moving forward. Maybe it's that Priest mirror. As you did say, Muzzy's Priest should be very, it's very well built for the mirror.
The card draw can't be stopped.
Yep.
He just draws through his entire deck, accumulates Holy Smite, Mind Blast, Velen, gets Raza and Anduin. So we're talking about a few combo pieces here, clearly. But it's reminiscent of the old Freeze Mage. Except instead of freezing the board to prevent the opponent from attacking you, what you end up doing in Priest is you blow up the board repeatedly, keep yourself healed with the hero power, which Mage couldn't do.
Yep.
And you also, at the end of the day, just accumulate 5 pieces and finish it off in a single hit for 28. So I think Muzzy, the way he built the deck, just tells me that he was expecting a whole bunch of these Priest decks to come up, and he just knew that he'd have the edge in the matchup.
And here we go, Priest Mirror, Anduin present in both opening hands. Velen present in Muzzy's. And now it's actually interesting. I don't know if he keeps it or not. I don't think he can keep Velen. Because
it's already been mulliganed.
He has? Sorry.
Yeah, the mulligan's already done for Muzzy. I mean, it's not too bad to have Velen, but the problem with having such a high, end card curve that is when you're not the second player is when they start playing their 3-drops and 4-drops, you still need to remove that chip damage. Otherwise, you'll just go down to 12 health by the time you can get that Anduin out, and then you have to stabilize, which is very difficult. So the Pint-Sized Potion guarantees that when Shadow Word Horror is picked up, there's going to be a full clear in the mid-game. But for the time being, his hand is looking extremely... I mean, it's a winning hand if you get to the late game.
Yeah, so Tallion can try and play a very aggressive game, because Arcus will help him with that, actually.
Yeah, so will Glimmerroot. I mean, it's one of the...
Yeah, more aggressive cards in the deck.
I was going to go there, and you spotted it. It's one of the more aggressive cards in the deck. Okay, Galactic Crawler is also joining the party. Okay,
it's 2 mana, 2/3. That's reasonable.
Yeah, it's an aggressive crab. Yeah. So Galactic Crawler into the Glimmerroot. That's a curve into Kazakus. I mean, it doesn't get much better when you're looking to put tempo in this deck.
Yeah.
Like, there's very little more that you could do.
I mean, when your opponent is playing Novus Engineers and Loot Hoarders and No Mission Venters, then yeah, Galactic Crawler and Curious Glimmerroot looking good. If they do die, you revive them with a Kazakus Potion, maybe summon a 5/5 as well, or summon the 5/5 and gain health. 5 mana Captured Yormonger.
Captured Yormonger.
Yeah.
I remember that card.
Yeah. It's a 5/9.
Yeah.
Exactly the same stats as the demon summoned with the 4 health buff that you get from the 5 mana Kazakus Potion.
But it dies to Sacrificial Pact.
Okay. You got me. Strictly worse.
I agree. It looks like this rope's taking Tallion. He's taking the time during the entire turn here to look at what the opponent would be able to use to answer the threats that he puts down as he does. We've seen a lot of people go ahead and play the Radiant Elemental on 2 for tempo's sake, but I mean, this is not one of those. Muzzy's deck is built not to need that. It's built to just need to get to the combo and finish the game off. So there's no need to play what could be a game-winning Velen spam card. I mean, he's got Velen, Radiant Ellie together. He's got Shadow Reaper. We're looking for Raza, and then it's just a matter of time.
It is a matter of time. Then eventually Muzzy just wins the game in one turn. He doesn't have the coin. Tallion started with the coin, which is a tiny disadvantage there. He would have... it's just 4 more damage, isn't it, if he does start with the coin and holds on to it.
And the extra card also can help in the matchup to just dig to that Raza / Shadow Reaper a bit faster. So the advantage that Muzzy gets to the matchup is slightly nullified by the, whoever got the coin and the extra card in this specific case. Now Muzzy does get a curve. He finally found the 3/3. That gives him the ability to fight off on the board. I was saying Tallion could just get a hold of the board and maybe get something like 15 damage in, but Muzzy is just getting the cards he needs. Pick up the 3-drop, picked up Kazakus.
Look at the difference in the length of these guys' turns, by the way. So Tallion drops the Galactic Crawler and then roped. Muzzy drops Gluttonous Ooze, go, end turn. So there could be a few things going on here. One of them is that Muzzy realizes that Tallion is trying to take all of the possible time to think, and he's saying, right, well, I don't think I need to think at the moment, so I'm going to end my turn as fast as possible to reduce my opponent's thinking time.
Well, it's also that Muzzy knows his game plan. So Tallion may not know a way around winning against that type of combo deck. I mean, he knows the way to beat it, but it's a little bit more tricky because Muzzy just knows how to operate this deck. He knows exactly where he wants to go. Once the hand texture looks like a winning one, he just goes off, and that's the end of that. Whereas Tallion has to maybe try to find the optimal minion to drop to make sure that he can keep himself afloat, to maybe edge out every little advantage, because he is unfavored based on building of the deck. I
loved how with the Kazakus there, Muzzy took draw 2 instantly, and then sort of like, oh, I don't really want any of the others. Can I just have a 5-mana draw 2? Could that be the whole card? But no, he gets the 5/5 Demon, which is obviously beneficial. Now Tallion's Kazakus is going to come down, and he needs a way of dealing with Muzzy's Kazakus.
The question is, are we both taking board clears, right?
Well, if
either
Tallion
way,
gets offered one,
we're drawing if we can.
Tallion does not get offered one. He does get the card draw.
Well, there's an argument. Had he had 5/5 Demon plus 4 health, that is one of those, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Dominating board states, but he's not as far ahead as he hoped to be.
He's going to have to draw cards. This is the early minion presence that he was hoping for.
And suddenly, Muzzy can fight back. Useful for later.
Let's go, cards, come on. Give me more cards. At least the Trailblazer, one of the best cards for Muzzy to drop soon as well. It's a 5-mana 5/5, absolutely reasonable.
Muzzy, in a world where Tallion has summon a 5/5, give plus 4 health to your minions, Muzzy gets absolutely annihilated.
But that world doesn't exist today, sadly. Tallion could have gone with the plus 4 health, but it's risky because if Muzzy were to then clear his board immediately, then it wouldn't have done anything. So this was the safest way for Tallion to go about this potion.
Yeah, and you knew what he knew that the potion would come down from Muzzy, and he thought, well, what does he want to play next turn? Surely he wants a 5/5 demon with plus health, or a 5/5 demon with card draw, so I have to take the defensive one since my potion is coming after his. So recognizing which of the choices he had to make took the 5 damage one, which ended up, in this case, equalizing the board state and bringing it back down, rewinding by 1 turn. Here comes another 5/5. No Potion of Madness present. For no Shadow or Death, that is, present for Tallion.
No, but there is a Dragon potion.
Yeah. Is it that the time?
You do lose a lot of your own minions in the meantime. You can push 6 damage to the face and the Dragonfire Potion.
I like the Glimmer Root a lot because the odds that your opponent has exactly Blood Mage Thalnos into Holy Nova is rather slim. Granted, if that happens...
Shadow Reaper Anduin from the Curious Glimmer Root. Tallion is just like, is this really happening?
Well, he's got 2 now.
He does have 2 now. So Raza would have been
Obviously a lot better, but
better.
Yeah. Still a cool card.
It's an extra set of Shadow Word Deaths, right? You
Yeah.
can just clear the board one more time.
We haven't seen Raza from Muzzy, so that's a target that dies. When Velen comes down from Muzzy, it tends to mean you're dead. But if it does have to come out as just a 7/7, then you can just play the second Shadow Reaper Anduin. Shadow Word Death is there for Tallion. Shadow Word Pain, sorry, to kill the 3/3. And the 5/5 is not enough. And as I was saying earlier, right, like Muzzy, when he loses the early board, and he ended up losing it, it goes down to about 12 health before he stabilizes.
Yes.
And this is exactly what you're looking at. Like, this is the type of board state that is very common when one player curves like one turn earlier.
Oh, okay. Muzzy having to play the Holy Smite as well. He wants to get his health back up. He needs to clear this board. He would have liked to save that for the huge blowout turn later, but he does need to get to that huge blowout turn. That's kind of important too.
Because you know there could be a Shadow Reaper Anduin in that opponent's hand, and even without Raza, that starts chipping away at your health awfully quick.
Actually opting to heal face there rather than healing Elise the Trailblazer. He knows that his game plan doesn't necessarily mean that Elise has to survive.
Well, Blood Mage Thanos with Spirit Lash can give him an extra card draw while clearing Elise. That's one of the options available to Tallion right now, but you kind of want to deal with Priest of the Feast, if only because you can keep that health total low. There's also an argument for Coin Anduin, because you kill the 5/2 right away. That seems extremely reasonable.
The light has betrayed me.
And here we go. No Raza on either side. This could be the... Well, this is literally a shotgun. It's very slow. Yeah, it's not the machine gun you were looking for.
Where are the Razas? Razas not feeling like coming out to play this game just yet, but there's still more card draw present in both hands. Muzzy has the Gnomish Inventor. Tallion has Blood Mage Thanos.
The light has betrayed.
The health advantage goes to Tallion by a very large margin. And Priest of the Feast has not been able to recover too much health from Muzzy. So at the moment Tallion picks up that Raza is going to start going very poorly for Muzzy. Greater Healing Potion,
yeah.
Again, still one of the ways you can catch up, and it is indeed in Muzzy's deck.
He needs to draw it first.
Yes.
That's the only downside there. In a world where Muzzy ever develops the Radiant Elemental and it survives, which is so unlikely now that his opponent's hero power is the Shadow Reaper Anduin one. But in a world where that happens, he can play for Prophet Velen and Greater Healing Potion on the same turn.
Tries to get the Lyra out. Doesn't really find much to do with that, though. Lyra doesn't... It distracts the opponent for a little while. I mean, there can be no healing on the Priest of the Feast, which tells you everything you need to know about this play. What it meant is, this card is his saving grace, because then he recovers the health disadvantage that he's got. I can't allow that. And he can't heal the Priest of the Feast. So, this will offer a trade with Raza and his hero power, and buys me a little bit of time. Oh.
What is going on here?
I'm not sure about that Radiant Elemental.
No.
Yes.
Save Radiant Elemental.
Oh, what a line! And he picks up the Holy Smite.
Wow. That just happened. Now
That was
Lyra...
insane.
Now Lyra actually can survive this turn. It's super unlikely. All Muzzy needs to do is ping it, play a card, ping it again.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he's going to be doing. Picked up the Greater Healing Potion, so Priest of the Feast's loss is not going to be felt for too long.
Yeah.
Again, without Raza, that armor is going to take a while to be chopped through, or at least a few, an entire turn just for the armor.
Oh, Shadow Priest actually is decent here. It takes away Muzzy's toy. Takes away his 2/4 minion. It's not a bad body. 6 mana, steal your opponent's 4-drop is really good.
That's a rough one.
I'd rather take a Blood Mage Thanos if I could choose, but Tallion doesn't know that he has that luxury. He might not even have that luxury.
Muzzy still has the Greater Healing Potion and the Dragonfire Potion,
Yeah.
so he's able to use the 2 potions together to clear up the entire board.
He could even play Thanos Dragonfire Potion if he wanted to guarantee the card draw.
Sure. Oh man, he's got the Mind Blast now to go with Velen.
We're getting there.
The big issue there for Muzzy is, okay, now I've lost the Holy Smite, so that I can only deal 20 damage with the full combo. And 20 damage is very far from 35. So before he's able to kill his opponent quickly, he's going to have to chomp through a lot of that health.
I don't think it matters too much for him, though. He's even got an Elise card pack still in his deck. That's 5 extra cards. Well, the card pack itself is a card, so it's 6 extra cards that he can use to keep pinging away at his opponent's face.
Yeah. It's just the Velen turn, man.
I don't believe that Muzzy's used Shadow Visions yet either, so
No.
he could have 2 Elise card packs in his deck.
But there's a clock, though. That's the big issue is you're being put on a clock that's a lot shorter than your opponent's one. So right now we've got the Doomsayer triggering, giving Tallion 2 card draws, which means Muzzy is again going to be forced to be on the responsive side. Needs to pick up Raza, could pick it up very, very soon.
No Raza still present in either hand. Does Muzzy have to play Greater Healing Potion now? I think he should. I don't believe there's a punish for playing it.
The punish would be that you can't play it with Lyra, and I think there's a good argument to be made for forcing the opponent to waste quote-unquote 6 mana on this. All right, Embrace the Shadow is just a 2-cost spell to use with Radiant later. Cycles the Pint Size. That's a good card.
Yeah.
That's a 10 health differential you're creating because you can ping first.
Yep.
That's 2 damage. Holy Fire for 5, another 2 damage. That's a 14 health differential as you're gaining 5, and that matters. Barring you being close to being dead, this can be a
Using it on
game
minions
changer.
can also be incredibly convenient.
Yes. And there is still Raza, so that's a
speaks to me.
decent target.
So how is Tallion going to get rid of Lyra? Yeah, he can ping it a few times. He could just play Dragonfire Potion. There are a lot of different ways he can go about doing this.
Yeah, I mean, he's got Velen, so Radiant Elemental wants to be kept. Power Word Shield you'd like to keep. Maybe Embrace the Shadows could be a throwaway card here. There's a chance that happens. So you ping, you ooze, you Acolyte. Yeah, I mean, you could do it with just playing a 2-cost spell and a 1/1. It just seems very difficult to use the cheap spells if you...
I like the Dragonfire Potion. It's kind of awkward if he pings and plays Ooze and plays Acolyte. He needs to fit in the 2-mana hero powers in over and over again. Dealing with the Lyra just gets messy. Dragonfire Potion seems like a very clean way of doing it. Still no Raza present in Tallion's hand. Or Muzzy's hand.
That's a Holy Fireable target.
Yeah, I like it.
It's about the only target you'll find that's not Raza, and you've got Shadow Word Death for that, so might as well go.
Suddenly they have the same health again.
But
Muzzy's used a lot of his healing.
yes, and Tallion has not. Okay, another cheap card to throw here. You almost can't play Acolyte of Pain in this deck due to the fact that, I mean, at this point, unless you play a lot more stuff, otherwise the opponent can abuse that and ping your Raza out of your deck.
I'm just amazed at how many awkward turns there have been this game. Tallion, ping, cleric, ping, okay.
This is the most reasonable line that he's
Yeah.
got. It empties his hand enough that he doesn't get milled because he's now at 7 and there's no way his opponent can deal 3 to the Acolyte on paper unless the Lyra gave him exactly another Spirit Lash.
It's going to be Shadow Word Horror time, I think, just to deny Tallion any chance of getting that Raza earlier than he should be getting that Raza.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
If there was a a Potion of Madness in Muzzy's hand, then he could take it and then Spirit Lash and then trade and actually draw several cards from himself. But nope, that's the line, and both players in their mid-20s now when it comes to health.
The first Raza wins. Well, doesn't win, but he just takes a massive lead instantly. It's unbelievably...
If Muzzy gets Raza immediately
to come
after
from.
Tallion, Muzzy probably still wins. He's got the Velen, he's got the Mind Blast, he can do things a little bit faster. Tallion still hasn't drawn Prophet Velen yet. So actually he's missing 2 key features when it comes to finishing off his opponent.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. The fact that Velen's there is... And the Mind Blast, right, it represents so much more damage because Velen, Radiant Elemental, Mind Blast together are sufficient to bring down Tallion to near death. That's an annoying card. Yikes.
It's a 4/9.
That's gonna connect.
Yeah.
That is connecting. And you can't have that. But what can you do?
Muzzy has no way of buffing or nerfing that 4/9 so that he can death it or something. Oh boy.
I mean, we can play every card just to try to kill it, but maybe the play is to just let it connect and then end the game next turn when you pick up Raza inevitably through sheer luck. I doubt that's likely to occur, but
yeah,
if you set up your opponent low enough in health, maybe that's the thing that happens. Ooh, hello. Can I play you? More or less?
Yeah, he can play it, but he can't finish off this Radiant Elemental. And it'd also mill a card if he played it.
Yes.
Which is a problem.
If he pinged, yeah. I mean, if he didn't ping, he could always just dump a Spirit Lash afterwards and lose one card.
Or Embrace Shadow, like whatever.
Sure. Huh. You could make that Radiant Elemental stick. You've just seen the amount of damage it soaked up. If you heal it up, seems extremely tough to justify.
You want to use Greater Healing Potion on it?
I think you're Shadow Word horroring it down and then just pinging again.
Yeah.
Okay, we're actually just going in with the full steal it, deal a bit of damage, do it again, and finish you off as soon as I pick up my Raza. That's perfectly reasonable.
Muzzy's health is very low once more.
Yeah, and he's used up all the healing. So.
He could get Kalimos, and he's got Radiant Elemental in hand. So there is a way of healing for another 12.
Oh goodness gracious, that's... I didn't even...
Again, probability-wise, it can happen. The Elise card packs do give a bonus chance for legendaries, and there aren't that many legendaries in the set because a lot of the legendaries are taken up by quests.
Okay, so Muzzy's just picked up. So he's got Spirit Lash. I mean, I said he used up all his healing. I lied. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, he can still heal a little bit.
Yeah.
But not much.
It's for 12, right?
Yeah.
That's reasonable.
Well, not 12. With Spirit Lash, you don't heal for that much. You heal up to 10, since you're only dealing 3 damage.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking about... I was thinking that Raza did what Prophet Bellin did for a second there.
No.
If Prophet Bellin was on the board,
oh, that would have been great, but... Lyra, free from Ember. Uh-oh.
Well, Lyra can definitely give you some healing.
Right away.
Free from Ember can give you... what saves you from Free from Ember? Ragnaros Lightlord?
Nah, it's a Paladin card.
You're right, you can't get it. Raza comes up for Tallion. Does he have the mana? Not this turn. Not this turn, he doesn't.
Not quite. It's so close, though. He's got like 6 or 8.
Now Tallion's got to evaluate, am I dead if Velen comes down? Because clearing the board does not seem appealing, but if the alternative is I die to Velen, Radiant Elemental, Mind Blast, then maybe I do clear the board, because Radiant Elemental plus Velen plus Mind Blast represents 20, I believe.
Okay.
It looks like it's just going to be the full clear. And suddenly, the damage on the board for Muzzy is not going to be available, and that 20 damage will not be sufficient. Muzzy's going to have to find a way out of this one that does not involve killing his opponent in one fell swoop, I think. Does Embrace the Shadows work? So 1, 2, 3. I think he's got 24. Not sure.
If he had one more mana crystal, then things would be looking much nicer. Lyra does look like the way to go, but you can't start this chain off with Embrace the Shadow, because then if you do get healing, then it kills you. Binding Heal is going to be what Muzzy is looking for, and he could do with more than one of them. Can he find lethal here in the form of multiple Mind Blasts? That didn't do it.
Almost got there.
No healing now, though.
Okay, so what are we digging for?
Holy Smites. That'll do.
No, that won't do.
1 or 0 mana spells he needs.
So a bunch of 1-cost spells.
No!
Mind Blast, what are you doing here?
No!
Bottom right, buddy.
Oh, Muzzy has to concede. He got the Raza just a couple turns too late. Tallion takes away what should have been an unfavorable matchup for him.
But we saw what the early game lead did to him. It just gave him the ability to get his opponent down to about 15 health before he stabilized. And this is kind of the story of Priest matchups. Either they both get it very early, and it's a matter of who gets the combo first. If they both play a non-combo E-build, so no Mind Blasts and maybe no Holy Smites with Velen specifically, which is rather uncommon, then it becomes a matter of who gets the Raza and the Shadow Reaper on their own to play any spells with.
Yep.
And the downside is that if you're getting your pieces together and you're losing board, and they're also getting one of the 2 pieces first, then you also fall behind because they have board, a way to heal for free, and on top of that, they can start pinging away as soon as they pick up Shadow Reaper. So the Priest matchup is rather easy to look at and understand. But there are many angles the Priest can use to tackle the mirror match.
Now, Muzzy can win this game, but he really needs Murloc into War Leader into Gentle Megasaur. It's not, this opening hand hasn't quite lined up that nicely, but Valfin Inquisitor is fine. Coin Rallying Blade could be fine. Finja will be relevant later. This is winnable for Muzzy, but he needs to do it quickly.
The Ooze looks good on paper because you're thinking, oh, I can kill Rallying Blade, but that's not what you want to kill. You want to kill the Murlocs. I mean, killing the weapon's nice and all, but it's not sufficient. The weapon on its own is not worth killing. So if you're keeping the minions here, is to say, I can fight that for tempo, but based on the way Paladin plays, that's not very often a thing. And I think I just saw a 4-drop Kazakis for Tallion and the Shadow Word Pain.
It worked pretty well against Muzzy Shaman.
Yeah.
So who's to say it won't work well against this Paladin?
Ah, man. Tallion is just fully equipped to handle this. He's got Shadow Word Horror in the deck. That kills a Stealth at Finja. He's got Shadow Word Pain for the War Leader. He's got Holy Smite in case there's a tight color that comes out, which there isn't. But if there had been one, Holy Smite could deal with it. Holy Nova can start whittling down in the mid-game. Dragonfire Potion wipes the board, oftentimes wins the game. Silence now takes care of Spiker's Steed. Bind-Size Potion plus all that is just back-breaking. Muzzy's, he's going to have to open up very strongly.
He needs to draw Murloc War Leader. Within the first 3 turns, he needs to draw Murloc War Leader.
At least Rockpool Hunter, right?
Yeah.
At least.
I'll take it.
Muzzy being forced to wait and see if there is an Northshire Cleric. Will I not need to wait?
Again, Tallion with the rope there. Seems to be a trend this entire series.
Turn 1, turn 2, he tends to take a lot of time. I think what he does is he's identifying the key cards in his deck.
Yeah.
And the key cards in his opponent's deck and what to keep for what. And once you've done that, you can keep moving forward with some degree of confidence.
Makes sense.
Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah, Tallion ended turn 2 much faster there.
It's no Rockpool Hunter, but at least it's a 2-3.
No, but now we want Murloc War Leader. Come on, turn 3. It's gonna come, Muzzy. You can get there.
If the Shadow Word Pain comes out before that, then yeah, that'd be a bit soul-crushing. If Tallion plays the Ooze for tempo, because it fights off very well against the 2 minions, he's going to be punished by the Rallying Blade coming right up.
Well, it's very difficult. Tallion gets punished by something regardless of what he does here, because exactly as you just said, play the pain, War Leader punishes you. So I think that the Ooze is the Ooze punishes a lesser of 2 evils.
I mean, at least he's not playing War Leader this turn if that happens very often, because he doesn't want to lose the Murloc.
Exactly.
So he ends up, playing the Blade. Then maybe you get later in the game.
Then again, War Leader does come down.
The trade happens.
The 1-mana Murloc gets the value trade because the nerf hasn't happened yet. Once again, illustrating how strong that interaction is. But if that were to happen, then Pain would hit the War Leader immediately, and so it wouldn't matter too much for Tallion. So I think this is the right way to go about things. Gentle Megasaur isn't really good enough yet. Blessing of Kings might be.
So if you were to put Blessing of Kings, you'd put it on the 1-3 and just try to blow out your opponent immediately with the Megasaur. But I think this is too good. You're getting yourself a 2-2 with Divine Shield. You've got a King's target next turn, many of them even.
That can become a 6-6 with Divine Shield next turn, essentially.
We might see Tallion just pull the trigger on the... I mean, unless he picks up something like Shadow Word Horror, which, I mean, that would be...
Horror would be nuts here.
Yeah.
Kazakis, though, probably the way to go.
Seems reasonable. You deal 4 damage in AoE, then you polymorph.
It worked out against the Shaman, right? Let's see what he can get this time. Go straight for 5 mana.
So if he got the 4 damage AoE plus polymorph, that would negate any big buff. For now, though, this is neither of those.
No.
These are both, I wouldn't say bad, but they're definitely not what you were looking for.
Well, Priest's like putting big things on the board, drawing cards. No board clear here either.
Well, this might be a fair game. Maybe we get a fair fight this time.
Fair fight. Kazak is not just man-moding it.
Okay. The Blade kills Kazakis, so Muzzy maintains tempo. That is instrumental. Now, Muzzy's worst nightmare goes as follows. 4 damage AoE, polymorph for random minion. Does it happen in that order, or is it Polymorph first? Aha.
You're putting me on the spot there, and I do know this, but my brain has just gone blank.
I feel like it polymorphs first and then clears the sheep. But in that case, this would be a bad ordering.
I think you're right. I think you're right. That is the order.
Interesting. So it would actually not work out too well. And I think Muzzy's just destroying his opponent at this point.
Yeah.
This turn's on its own was absolutely insane.
It's all about the blowout start, and Muzzy's created a board where even the worst Kazakh's potion doesn't actually clear the 6/6.
Likely.
Well, okay.
That would hurt.
Muzzy's like, there's no way something that unlucky is going to happen to me this turn.
Dream on!
Oh! Okay.
All right, he nailed it. The 5/5 is going to come out, try to challenge the 6/6 with Divine Shield. That is not going to be a problem. Muzzy's got another Kings if he wants to play it.
Is it about to become a 10-10 with Divine Shield? No, you'd probably widen your big board, right?
I don't know. You would have seen death had it been there, right?
Yep.
Much more likely than a potion that does this.
Yep.
So I'm thinking, I mean, you can spread your damage thin, but you're closing this game next turn if nothing happens.
Also, hitting the Murloc with the buff means that Gentle Megasaur into Wind Fury or something next turn, if the Murloc survives, can just be game-winning. But speaking of game-winning...
You potion? Yeah, gotta get a bit lucky.
Greater healing potion here.
Greater healing potion, Doomsayer, maybe. You survive one turn, nothing kills you, and you're good to go. But then if Gentle Megasaur gives the damage, then...
Megasaur with the Wind Fury, yeah, then the healing potion, it wouldn't be enough.
Yeah.
I cannot believe this is happening. We are actually going to end up going to game number 5 very soon. It's going to be the Pirate Warrior versus Murloc Paladin to end the series.
Well, it's not over yet. That's the thing. Muzzy is not done, but he's looking strong. And even Dragonfire Potion doesn't save Tallion. You know, he doesn't have either Shadow Word Horror or Pine Size to, like, the combination of these two to clear out the board.
It wouldn't even clear the 6/6.
Yeah, exactly. It barely even scratches the amount of work that needs to be done here. He's going to try to set up a board clear for next turn.
Oh, no.
And he is trying.
All right, well, I don't see why Muzzy doesn't go for it. Worst case scenario, he gets Death Rattle or Stealth or Untargetable or something.
So Hydrologist with the Megasaur would give him buffs on 2 Murlocs. Eye for an eye. Yeah. That's a funny thought.
Priest has so much healing. That's something that's not as strong against Priest as it was against Freeze Mage.
I mean, it's the most damage you'll pull.
Yeah, that's true. There's the Wind Fury!
And that is going to end it!
Oh! Turn 6. Tallion is dead. We said Muzzy could win if he gets this blowout start. We are going all the way to game number 5. What a fantastic, intense series for both of these guys so far.
Murloc Paladin made it through without the Murlocs. Well, I mean, it did need the General Megasaur on a Murloc.
Yeah, the Murloc was still game-winning, but you're right, it was the Protector with the Blessing of Kings that made all of the difference in that game.
Yeah, and you turned the game a little bit around, right? If the Polymorph effect had happened on the Murloc, ouch, that's bad. It hit the Galaka Crawler, which was exactly the right target for Muzzy to keep going and end the game. So the potion just didn't line up well for Tallion, despite the other ones that he's had before that ended up working for him.
It was 2 bad options for him as well. No 4 damage board clear, no deal 5. Even the best potion wasn't 100% of the time going to deal with the Righteous Protector, but it just so happened that he ended up with the worst potion. But now, final game of the series, Righteous Protector in the opening hand of Muzzy's and Galaka Crawler. It looks like exactly what he needs to counter an aggressive Pirate Warrior start.
I mean, he does play the Galaka Crawler for a reason. It's one of the matchups that's not even that bad, even if you don't account for the Paladin. Even if you don't account for the Galaka Crawler. But once you start adding that, you're really just crushing the opponent's soul. Okay, so do you open up with Vilefin Inquisitor? It's a bigger body, handles N'Zoth's First Mate a little bit better. It's weaker, of course, against a Coinfire War Axe Opener, followed by a Raider, but you've got the Galaka Crawler to kill the Raider. Yeah. So I maybe just don't play Protector so early.
That's true. Later on, it can just tank 10 damage from an Arcanite Reaper. So
we've seen it happen with Redemption as well. I mean, that's just been absolutely bonkers.
That's a great game.
So the Vilefin Inquisitor much better against N'Zoth's First Mate, which is the opener you want to be fighting off against. You can't afford losing to that.
Nope, putting a 1-3 up does beat a 1-1, another 1-1, and a 1-1 weapon, 1-4 weapon. So yeah, it's about as good a start as you can get. And Tallion not taking too much time here before he drops the Nuzlocke's first mate. It's quite obvious, I think, as a Pirate Warrior, that that's how you want to start.
Yeah, and now Muzzy's got the two choices, the obvious ones. Do I play Crawler right now? I don't get too much value.
It's such a tricky question. Every single time it's a tricky question. Now that you've drawn a second one-drop, there is the potential to play both one-drops, and it's sort of okay, but you don't get as much value from the Protector that way as you would otherwise. I think I prefer Galactic Crawler this turn.
It's all down to South Sea Captain, right? Because if you end up trading the you go 1-2, and you play the two 1-1s, the problem you'd run into is if there were something like a South Sea Captain on the coin, then that buffs patches, it lives, and then you have to start going through a few hoops, but you can eat that up. So the more value you get out of this little Crawler, the better you do. So you're almost incentivizing Tallion to get a 3-mana Pirate if he's got one. Right now, you're saying, all right, you got Cultist, you've got South Sea Captain, go ahead. And he's just gonna munch it up with the Crawler.
Even Dread Corsair would be fine for Muzzy here.
I mean,
it's gonna happen. Coin Dread Corsair this turn. No, then again, the coin kind of needs to be saved for Bittertide Hydra. So.
Yes, I think so too. I mean, he's got the upgrade plus Corsair next turn, which looks amazing.
Yeah.
Here we go. The Murloc army starting to amass, and now the General Megasaur can make of these little guys enough to just beat the game, take the game away.
How aggressive do we want to be here as Tallion? Because he could play the upgrade, Dread Corsair.
I think you're killing those Murlocs still, man.
Yeah.
Until you've got that board,
yeah.
you have to be very cautious. I mean, you're hoping Bittertide is your ticket to victory. So what you're trying to do here is clean up the board until Bittertide comes down. You might even use Kor'kron to get a value trade and then force the Paladin to have the right answer. And if they don't, then you just punish them on the back of that. I believe Muzzy, actually, maybe it might have been Zalay that ran the Consecration. I forget who was running Consecration in their Paladin. The Paladin list for Muzzy, I do not have in front of me at the moment, I believe. Oh yeah, he does not play Consecration. Noxious lied. So the Consecration is one of those tools that helps you with Kor'kron Elite when it comes down and gets a value trade on a 1-1, where you're able to finish off the health it has, deal damage to whatever is remaining. But given that Muzzy is going to be relying on True Server Champion, that's a bit of a slower approach, and that's the opening sometimes Tallion can find.
Tallion, like most of the Pirate Warrior players we've had in this tournament, is a green skin player rather than a Leroy player. Seems to be the more favorable choice at the moment. But yes, clearing up the minions did end up making a lot of sense, especially with the Murloc War Leader top deck from Muzzy. There are a lot of different ways Muzzy could go about doing this. This seems absolutely fine to me.
Kor'kron was used for value trade with the coin, chose not to play the Dread Corsair, as it was, I guess, vulnerable to the War Leader trade up. But you're happy to see that very often.
Do we just play all of our pirates now?
I feel like Tallion's playing around Galaga Crawler. That Dread Corsair not being played tells me he just doesn't want to lose.
He can't just never play any pirates.
No, they're going now. I mean, there's no way. It's just as bad against Galaga Crawler, because the weapon's already established.
Yeah, the weapon deals with one, Galactic Crawler deals with the other. At least next turn, Tallion can drop the Bittertide Hydra, and maybe that can be uncontested. Maybe.
The weapon's got enough attack, though, that it kills the Crawler, which is not something you see, by default. Usually, you tend to find yourself as the Warrior player in a spot where you've got a 3-damage War Axe or a 2-damage Hook, and the Crawler's just out, and then you just can't kill it without committing a lot of turns and resources.
I expect to see a hero power here just because Muzzy won't want the weapon to just free kill his Murloc War Leader. The hero power does give him a 1-1, which then turns into a 3-2. Never mind. Gonna just drop the War Leader immediately.
I think the reasoning is if you want to kill that, then I keep a 3-4, and then I can play Murloc and, General Megasaur or Corpse Taker Murloc.
Yeah.
And the Corpse Taker is...
pretty strong in this matchup, right?
It's so ridiculous against Bittertide Hydra. It's just going back to what we were saying. It effectively deals its damage to face, even if it doesn't attack, if it just gets attacked by the Bittertide.
Well, it's sort of just Wicker Flame, but just a little bit better, isn't it? Because it's got the Lifesteal. It's got the Wind Fury in Muzzy's deck. He is running the Stormwatcher.
Single copy, but it's enough to make it absolutely insane.
Yep, it's enough to turn 2 Corpse Takers into Wind Fury minions.
Look at that. Wind Fury, Lifesteal, Taunt, Divine Shield. Alec here, come at me, bro. Look at that. And this is what Paladin does to Pirates right now. Murloc Paladin with double Galactic Crawler does this to Pirates every game, it feels like. You just end up fighting against a Righteous Protector for 20 damage, or the Corpse Takers.
It's an aggressive deck that has so many taunt minions that it has to be favored in the matchup. Bone Mares, Spike-Witch Steeds, there are so many cards that the Warrior is going to be terrified of the Paladin playing.
Sure, let's tone this up if we want to. I mean, why not at this point?
Taunt seems good to me.
You could just +1/+1 push damage and 4 strays anyway, but I mean, it's just, at this point, it's almost amusing.
This is the end of the road by the looks of things for Tallion in DreamHack Montreal. Muzzy, it's been a difficult series for him. It's looked, in a lot of cases, like he was just going to lose the whole thing, especially when he lost the Priest Mirror. But now, with the power of his Murloc Paladin deck, he's shut Tallion down.
And that is it. Tallion has no way out of the damage that's on the board despite the armor up. And Muzzy will keep going. So I think his run at the DreamHack just proves how solid a player he is, both in terms of lineup building and across formats.
Yeah, you see the players now having a little chat with each other. Great big smile on Muzzy's face, no surprise there. He's even closer to World Championships.
Just when we thought maybe Muzzy's run had come to an end, he manages to pull off the victory, making it into the top 4. Congratulations to Tallion. He had a fantastic run. I'm really glad that we got to see him on stream finally, because he is a very underrated player. He's a name that more people should know, and hopefully now after this, we will be seeing him more in the future. But Muzzy's time is not yet over. We will be seeing him in the semifinals playing against the winner of our next series. It's going to be Insom taking on Tars. So there's another one of those really wild card players. Great deck building, really wacky stuff that you bring to the table. He's got a Giant's Quest Mage, and he does not ban Druid. So that is going to be an absolute pleasure to see. We're going to go get into that as soon as we possibly can. Insom versus Tars coming up next.